Hello, Stephen Hill here for Right Mindset Training. Did you know that when Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, as he's very famous for, he failed 1,000 times? Isn't that incredible? A reporter afterwards asked him, how did it make you feel to fail 1,000 times? And Thomas Edison said, it wasn't 1,000 failures, it was 1,000 steps to success. And so this is a famous story about motivation, which is so important for every aspect of our lives. And it's so easy to lose. And sometimes it seems like a mystery where it disappears, where it just vanishes into thin air and we're left with unmotivated, uninspired, and not achieving very well at our work or in the diet that we decided to take on, or whatever it may be. And so we have a program that teaches motivation that is long-lasting motivation. The acronym for this program is M.I.N.D. Motivation, Inspiration, Nourishing, and Doing It. So there's 4 parts that are crucial, and each part, if it's missed out, the whole program tends to fall in a heap and we lose our motivation. All these 4 stages of long-term motivation are very, very important. So first of all, motivation. It means the intention to do something, and this is something that many, many people speak about, think about, and wonder about. Motivation is essential for us to succeed in any endeavor. And there's 2 types of motivation. The first type is extrinsic. We have a reward or perhaps a painful consequence if we don't go and do something. As children, we might have got a whack on the backside if we didn't do our chores. And so there are incentives where we might get pay rises if we do certain things. And so motivation comes in different ways. And we start a diet perhaps. And did you know that most diets start after a New Year's resolution in January, and by September the next year, about 90% of them are all over, all finished. Now what is that? Why does that happen? Where do we run astray? What are the things that lead to the downfall of these very, very good intentions? And so we need this, first of all, the idea, the intention. We need to be ready for change. The change needs to be relevant to us. It needs to be important to us. And so we have this reward that we're looking to, perhaps a trim, taut, terrific figure, or perhaps we're looking for a promotion at work, or perhaps to improve our relationships. So whatever it is, we start with this intention, this extrinsic motivation, and that means a reward from the outside, which we can see clearly. But it must go to the second stage here of our acronym, which is inspiration or intrinsic motivation, where it wells up from the inside. And we do it because the reward comes from inside. It's been internalized and we fully commit to whatever it is. We've got a passion for it, we've got a commitment to it, and we don't really need to try and give ourselves external rewards anymore. The process or program is happening by itself because we enjoy it, or for some reason we have ownership in it. And we're totally involved. So this inspiration is very, very important. How does that happen? Where do we get inspiration from? Because sometimes we start with the motivation and we've got a plan to do this program, but it hits a wall. The old habits come up against us, don't they? The barriers of our not so visible basic beliefs and underlying subconscious intentions. Some people call them core beliefs. And to really get through to this, we need to do some examining and looking at these and getting through to them. If we don't get the subconscious on side and our passions and beliefs propelling or fueling the program, then we're going to struggle. with our motivation, and it will fall back on the extrinsic, very simple ways of motivating and going forward, and sometimes this falls astray. In our program, we look at the goals, the meaningful goals, the goals that are achievable, and we put together a personal mission statement. We explore these underlying core beliefs from the subconscious, which sometimes come from long ago. And we need to get these online, or we're not going to make a lot of progress. It's not that hard. Some people make it a very mysterious thing. But once we start to understand it, we can go forward. And that's the next stage. It's the nourishing. N. So we've got motivation, inspiration, and this motivation and inspiration needs nourishment or it'll fade away like a plant without water and fertilizer. And so we need to nourish our motivation. How do we do that? Well, there's several ways. One of them is to read and understand, know more about what we're doing. And when we learn, we become inspired. It nourishes our inspiration. As we learn and grow as a person, then that actually propels us forward. Something deep within us relishes personal growth and progress, which is visible. So as we see small term goals, which we tick off as part of this nourishing program, then we see progress and it's fuel. We're encouraged. And so this is nurturing or nourishing the motivation program. So we learn, but also we need to work at this program so that it's an everyday thing. We need to nourish it and keep those values or those goals visible. They might be on the fridge, and many programs do this. But with this personal mission statement, where we've really explored our core beliefs, and they've become part of the program, when we keep looking at these and we explore the tangents and where the shipwrecks are going to come from, for example, is the value of getting the diet going and successful. Is that more valuable than sitting in front of the TV with a bucket of ice cream? And if the bucket of ice cream is going to be more valuable to you, then you've got a problem. And so we need to know the cost of the program. We've got to be very, very clear on what it's going to cost us, what do we have to give up, what's the price of this program. But once we have all these things in and we've committed to it, and we're ticking off the small-term goals, and we're really getting somewhere, and once we get over that 18-day period, it starts to become a habit, and it becomes part of us, and we're doing it. And that's the fourth stage of the acronym. We've got motivation, inspiration, we're nourishing it, and we're doing it. And so this fourth stage is wonderful because we're seeing the progress, and it's becoming automatic. The habit has been ingrained, and it becomes part of us, and we really have made a new start, and the changes are ongoing. This is a wonderful thing to be part of. And we have an illustration of this process of motivation, a very famous story of a traveller long ago who was driving out of the city. And on the outskirts, there was a big block there with lots of rocks on it. And he saw a guy near the road who was working in the hot sun. And he was splitting rocks, and it looked like hard work. And he stopped because he was curious what on earth the man was doing there. He stopped, got out of the car with a cup and a container of water and poured some and said, "Would you like a glass of water?" And the man said, "Sure, thanks so much." And the traveller asked the worker, "So what are you doing out here?" And the man said, "Well, you know, it's such a hard job. And the sun, as you can see, and my back's sore and the pay's low, and you know, I just do it it's barely enough to pay for the upkeep of my children and my wife, and I end up with a beer at the end of the week. And so that's why I do it, but it's building a wall which is a very, very hard job. And the traveller said, well, it does sound tough, and he wished him well, and thanks for talking to me, and off he went. But only 100 metres up the road he saw another bloke who looked very, very similar to the first man. And he stopped again, got the water out, walked over and said, hey there, hello, would you like a glass of water? And the man said, sure, thank you. And he walked over and accepted the cup of water. And the traveller said, so you look very similar to the man over there. Yes, I'm his brother, the man said. And so they were very similar men doing the same job. And the traveller asked him, so what are you doing out here? It looks like hard work in this hot sun. And the man said, yes, it is hard work, but it's very rewarding. This is a wonderful job. We're building the most wonderful cathedral to celebrate the glory of God. And I love being part of this. I'm part of the mission of this corporation. I love contributing to it. And we're looking forward to completing the first part of this wall along here you're seeing during this year. And there's some more workers coming soon. Sure, it's hard work, but man, I just love being here. I love singing and being out here in nature, and it's a really great job. And the traveller went, wow, what a difference. Two guys doing the same job with completely different attitudes. He walked away back in his car and just mused on this as he was driving through the countryside and said, wow, there one has motivation. The motivation for the pay each day and the perhaps the beer at the end of the week, and to keep his wife and family going. That was the extrinsic motivation, but the other man had something else, didn't he? He had the intrinsic motivation. He was committed to the mission of that corporation, and he loved his job. He had a purpose. He had a part to play in something he thoroughly believed in. And so these men were doing the same job. One had extrinsic motivation, the other intrinsic. Which one is your life most like? At work, in relationships? Which one are you most closely aligned when you are motivated in doing something, like starting a diet or an exercise program? Which one are you? And so there are ways to become more motivated. We need ownership in the program, and there are very clear steps to take that we can do this, and we can nurture our inspiration so that the doing it, the new habit, becomes you. And we can learn to become the best version of ourselves possible. Thank you for listening.